Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Copper Center for the Arts Music Makers, an alumni concert series. My name is Carlos Cuestas, and I'll be your host for the evening. The Music Makers concert series proudly features graduates from the Aaron Copland School of Music at Queen's College, uplifting their work and strengthening the connections with the college. The Music Makers Alumni Series and all of our 2022 programming is proudly brought to you by our lead sponsor, the New York Community Bank, Resorts World Casinos, with additional support from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and the Max and Selma Kupferberg Family Foundation. We thank our sponsors and we thank you for being here. Today, we bring you Aaron Copland School of Music graduate Miki Yamanaka. Miki is a New York based pianist from Kobe, Japan. She moved to New York City in 2012 and has studied piano with Jason Lindner, Jeb Patton, and Fred Hirsch, and organ with Sam Yahel and Larry Goldings. She earned her Master's of Music degree from Queen's College in 2015, receiving the Sir Roland Hanna Award. In addition to an impressive performing career, Miki has participated in many recording projects. Her latest release, Stairway to the Stars, Outside in Music, was recorded in her own New York City apartment during lockdown and released in October 2021. Remember, during this show, Miki will be taking questions from the audience, so stay tuned and feel free to ask them in the comments section of our YouTube page. And to find out about our programming for this spring and summer, please visit our website, www.kupferbergcenter.org, or our social media channels for an exciting calendar of live music, conversations with authors, and much more. We thank you for joining us, and let's welcome Miki Yamanaka to our studios. Hello, Miki.
Hello.
How you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited for this virtual concert. It's going to be awesome.
Of course. Welcome to Corporate Center. We're very excited to having you. We are very excited to sort of like welcome you back to our loving arms of Queen's College and feature your work for the past, 7 years since you graduated, right?
Yeah, wow, that's so long.
So long ago. All right. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about the first piece of music we're going to hear and sort of introduce your work and what you have been doing for the past few years?
Okay, so yeah, so I decided to present the set of five different tunes, but like a different configuration of the band. Basically, I play piano, so I start with a solo piano piece, and then I like to play a blues. So I chose a Charlie Parker composition. It's entitled "Bird Feathers," and it's a blues. Yeah, and I think it's really precise, like way of like how to hear me, like how you would expect from my playing. So I think you can get a little taste of that, and I hope you enjoy.
That was wonderful, Mickey. That was wonderful. Um, I am curious then, since you say this is sort of what not maybe defines your sound, but something that sounds similar to what you how you feel music necessarily, or something along those lines. I wonder what it is about Charlie Parker, what it is about this piece that you chose, and your way of interacting with it that calls you as an artist.
So Charlie Parker is a really important figure in jazz, and he created this language of like bebop, what people call bebop, and he really expanded that. Even the blues, like 12-bar form, whatever. I'm not going to dive in a little too much, but it's a simple form, but the way he created those melodies really are very outside of like what's like known for the typical harmony, and exploring his melody. I think it's not almost a melody. His solo that he liked to play many times. It's just like really important as a jazz musician, like to study, like to really learn them and like take it into your own vocabulary and stuff like that. So it's really always important to, introduce a new audience about, you know, Charlie Parker is the man. You should know him, and like it's really important. So I always like to play one of his compositions, like usually in my like gigs and stuff like that. I really play a lot of his songs.
It's kind of like you're channeling him through your musical development and your performance, right?
Yes, it's just really important. Like you really have to, like, if you do classical music, you have to learn the book, right? You have to know the history of the music. So if you play jazz, it's the same thing. You have to know the history of the music. So there we go. It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
it follows. And we as well invite our audiences to come and participate in this live conversation that I'm having with Nikki, such as our friend Donald Logie, who found out about this last minute. So hi, hello to you,
Yes,
Donald.
I sent out the newsletter.
That's
What's up,
amazing.
Don?
Thank you.
Nice
So
to see
if you
you.
can bring up
Yes.
Donald's comment, that would be great, so that people can start realizing how we're going to be interacting with you. So Donald, if you have a question for Mickey, please feel free to put it in the chat. We'll bring it up, and I'm so glad you're here. Also, for those of you who are in the audience, please share our broadcast with the YouTube share button. Invite your friends, post it on Facebook. We'll be happy to see as many of you as you can, and to share Mickey's talent for sure. So Mickey, um, two questions before we go into the next section. One about your solo piano playing, and the other one to introduce the other piece that we're going to hear. But if you can tell me a little bit about how did you start with your piano playing, like at what moment, and was it always jazz, or did you start with classical, and then did you sort of like transfer or transform your artistry into jazz playing?
Um, so I've answered this question so many times, but I hope I'm not repeating too much, but I started with classical. It's like same as like other Asian parents like trying to make their kids like learn classical piano. I'm from Japan, and like I grew up learning classical music, but that was never my thing. And then, but my parents, both my parents like jazz, and in Japan you hear jazz all the time, like in a restaurant, ramen restaurant, izakaya, all this, like even like supermarket, like you would hear jazz. So jazz was always around me. And then when I was in junior high school, I was part of the big band there, but it was not a good program or anything. It's just really bad. But if I think about it, but I was introduced, the music, got to listen to a lot of jazz. My friends were listening to pop music, and I was just listening to Oscar Peterson. And but I never thought I would be working as a musician. So I always like majored science. Like that was what I did until I moved to New York. So I was even part like in the middle of the master's degree in science. I eventually quit, but yes. So always like music was around me, but never thought that I would be actually pursuing my career in music. So yeah, this is a little, it's
Well,
interesting. Life is
it's
interesting.
well, we got an hour to sort of like explore it a little bit. Nikki, so now that we've heard you playing solo piano, the wonderful virtuoso and very sort of stylistically beautifully, what are we going to be hearing next?
Okay, so the next thing is so I said like a different configuration. This next piece is duo. So I'm gonna add the bass player Tyrone Allen. He's a excellent young talent from DC area, like Baltimore, Virginia, that area, and then that area always releases like great bass players. Like one of the really main bass players from there is Amin Salim, who's been to Queens College. Like a
Oh,
lot of people, yeah, I think Corcoran Holt went to Queens College too. I might be wrong, so
hmm
sorry, Corcoran, if I'm
won't call you on that one. We'll hold you accountable either.
yes, yeah, but Amin definitely went there. So like I always thought about like connection when Carlos, you talked to me about this concert, I just wanted to have some kind of connection to Queens College. So
Right.
like I just thought about, but Amin was like not available, and
hmm
he's in Italy, so I didn't even ask. Then Tyrone I haven't played with, so I was like, okay, yeah, the DC, yes, and
Yeah. Yeah.
just like I like kind of saw the connection. Like he's just such a wonderful bass player. And
Great.
we played one of my original competitions. It's entitled Early Morning, and I
hmm
wrote it when I was in school because I had to wake up for school. And I don't like waking up early for school. But I was like,
We relate. We relate.
like I'm just in such a night owl, and like just that's why jazz is good for me, I guess. But yes, but you can hear like the kind of sentimental mood of like in the morning I'm just like half awake and like kind of therapeutic. I'm trying to start my day, that kind of vibe. So hope you enjoy. Yeah, early morning.
That was a good morning that you had.
Chill, I guess. Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
inspired. And it made me think. I want to ask you a question, but before I do that, I want to remind our audience to keep posting your questions and your comments, participate in this conversation. And Donald, you're making a very interesting point. Donald says that Helen Sung and Yoko Miwa, among others, started with classical music. I suppose Makoto Ozone was a great for fan of Oscar Peterson. I will challenge you, and I'll give you 10 points, Donald, if you can point another pianist who was a scientist and left classical music and science to get into jazz. I got a degree in 2 years because this is a pretty unique. So 10 points, and give me a call. So anyway, this is the question though. That I had, Mickey, on listening to your music, and I wonder. This is a question that you probably get all the time, but you seem to be a very melody oriented person. Like it seems like the melodies seem to come to you there, I say, prior than the harmonies. So I want to talk about your compositional process. Like does it happen mostly like you wake up with a tune in your head, or you kind of just wake up with like a set of like a progression that you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Or neither, right? Like it doesn't have to be either or. Like but what do you gravitate towards the most when you're composing?
Um. Yeah. I like the idea of like writing in the morning. I think what I heard was like I'm really influenced by Horace Silver, and I heard that he used to like set a week that he's gonna just write anything that he can write every morning for that 7 days. Um, and I was definitely thinking about that when I wrote that specific piece that you just heard. I was like, okay, yeah, what do I think? Like, or like sometimes like, like in your dream, but you don't remember anything about the dream, but like some kind of music is in your head. Definitely I've written tunes like that, or like I like writing songs about food. So like when I'm cooking, like I just sing and I was like, oh, this is a cool idea. Or like when I'm cooking, like I'm like that's really therapeutic, cooking or like showering or something like that. That's a really therapeutic thing. That always like inspires me to write um something, and it just like always like a minute idea, and then I like to just kind of have a voice memo like recorder on my phone and just like play whatever that comes after, and sometimes it just sounds perfectly like a tune, and I was like, okay, that was it, let me play this again. And then usually like, when that happens, I can play it again, no problem. Like that's how it's supposed to be. Just like clicks.
Right.
So
So
yeah.
does that mean that your compositional process is sort of, you know, I, I'm not, the word easy is not coming to the conversation, but is it something kind of organic that happens to you, or
Yes.
do you have to sit down at the piano and be like, okay, I'm going to compose something today? No.
No, I just like usually have those ideas, that simple ideas that I talked about. It's usually off the piano, just like when
Mm,
I'm doing something else completely. And just
yeah.
like remember it, like just record it, like sing it or whatever. It's just all about remembering it too. Like I just sometimes have an amazing idea. I was like, this is gonna be perfect, and just like forget it. I was like, no, like what was that? I really liked it, but I cannot remember at all. So it happens. So like I just have to be on
That,
top of it, I
that's
guess.
amazing. I mean, I am looking forward to the 5 course restaurant suite that you will compose for an ensemble. So, since you like to compose through food, I look forward to one piece of yours like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Donald totally updid me. Yeah, he said, "How about Danny Zeitlin, a psychiatrist turned jazz
Yes,
pianist?"
we tell him
Apparently.
like he's a good, yeah,
All
he's
right.
nice to
So-
me. Like it's a good one, Don. Yeah. Good luck, man. Like
Touche, Don.
yeah, he knows a lot about the history and like the music. Yeah, he's a great fan of my streaming series that I do, and he's really supportive. And he
Fantastic.
knows a lot about music. He's seen so many legends. So
Tip of
really,
the
really,
hat, Don. Tip of the hat.
yes, it's really nice. With
And
other people, don't be shy. Come and say
exactly.
hello. Yes.
And please drop your comments in the chat. We're going to have a conversation, hopefully, between our audience members and Mickey at the end. But if you have any questions, start shooting them, and we'll bring them up to the screen to sort of bring you also to be part of this experience. So, Miki, we heard you play by yourself. There was a duo that came up. Do we have in store for the next song?
Yeah, so that this one it will be a trio, and but it is a trio, but with a trumpet player. And Greg Glassman is the trumpet player who joined us, and he also went to Queens College. He's an alumni, so and I didn't know that until like, you know, a couple years ago or something. I found out that he went there. I was like, oh shoot, that's great. And he's one of the first people hiring me in New York. He hired me very quickly after I moved here. I mean, I didn't work at all for 2 years, and I was not supposed to work with my visa. And also, I wasn't really good either. But like once, like I got better and better, like started practicing more, and then like Greg really saw me that I really loved the music. So like I might not be the perfect fit just yet, but he always like tried me out. So yeah, I think it was really important for me to ask him, to join us today. Yeah, Greg Glassman on a trumpet will be joining on this third piece. It's a song written by the late great Duke Pearson. He's a pianist and a composer that I really, really admire, and I wanted to play a song by him. So this is That So, written by Duke Pearson. Hope you enjoy.
Hi, Miki.
Hi.
Wow, that was. It's so balanced. I mean, the way your music is striking me. Like, it's so exciting. It's so smooth. It's so forward driven, but also it also begs you to sort of stay with it as opposed to just like losing your mind. I mean, it's a very balanced ensemble and music output that you achieve. Like, is this something that you're aware of? Is this something that how? I mean, in a way, I guess you hearing someone talking about your music, it's always going to be okay, whatever you say, but. What is the process for rehearsal for not only for this particular series that we have, but there seems to be a lot of I don't know, getting along and it's your music has a very nice energy to it that it puts us in a very positive place. I was wondering if you could talk about the rehearsal process and all of that.
Okay. Yes. So you might know, but jazz bands don't really rehearse. For this particular ensemble that you are seeing today, I had an idea, but we've never actually played together as a whole. Like, you're going to hear the quartet eventually in the end, but we've never played as a quartet ever. But I have played with all of them differently, different configurations. And yeah, just like if we know how you approach the music, if I know how he approaches the music, and then we can just like make it work really easily, just to have a little understanding. Then now it's just like, let's see what happens, you know? So it's not too much of a let's play this way or
Hmm.
that way. We just don't really decide too much. Like, as you know, like none of them, like we aren't really reading anything. We just
Hmm.
know those tunes. So I like playing those tunes that people already know. So like they can really explore what they want to do within the circumstances. Yeah. So that's it's a really interesting genre of music, honestly, that we don't rehearse,
Right.
but we can play.
Yeah, and as you said, like you don't rehearse because with some of these musicians you've also already played with, so there is an expectation that it's already fulfilling
Yeah,
itself in a way, right?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's great. I wanted to ask you about something that you said at the beginning that I thought it was really interesting. And before I ask that question, though, I do want to bring up two comments from the audience. The next Festival of Emerging Artists says that a stellar showing so far, textured, varied, and wonderfully expressive. Thanks.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Those are better adjectives that I was looking for. So thank you to the next Festival of Emerging Artists. That is the kind of what I was going for. So thank you. Um, So you did mention that growing up in Tokyo, you were already listening to
I didn't
jazz.
grow up in Tokyo.
Sorry, in Kobe.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, sorry. I did read your bio. Growing up in Kobe in Japan, you were already in touch with jazz. With your big band in school, and basically a lot of the soundscape of the city has
Mhm.
already jazz in it. So I was wondering, when coming to New York, obviously, how seamless that was, right? Like there are similarities between you know, musical, well, not similarities, but music and jazz is spread around the world, right? And you're in touch with it. But the cultures that assume it are very different in their approach, right? So I wonder, how was your experience experiencing jazz in Japan and learning it there, being here as a scientist, but really sort of like working your way to becoming a jazz pianist and eventually finishing your degree. So how was that transition, that moment of becoming a New York based musician?
Yes. I would say, um, yeah, that's fun question. I don't, I didn't really learn. Like I took lessons in Japan, but like mostly I just love to listen. So I just listened to a bunch of recordings that I like. And like back then, like I didn't really use YouTube, or I didn't have any like, streaming website or anything. So like my friend burned the CD for me, and like I listened to it like until it gets just like really freaky. So like I really just love the music, and like I said, like I didn't think that the music is something that I could make living for. Um, so when came to New York for just in 2011 for just a week, just to visit, I just like I wanted to see like how New York is like. I and then I came here and I just immediately fell in love. And while I'm still in the science program, and I called my mom from New York. I was like, "Hey, everything is great, but let me tell you something that I really want to move to New York for just a year." Couldn't speak English 10 years ago, so I kind of tricked her in a way that my mom could speak English. She can speak English, so she was like, "Oh, like yeah, it's like if you stay here for a year, like you can speak English." I was like, "Yes, mom." Check this out. Like I can just take a little break from my science major. I'm gonna be here for a year and I'll be back and finish my science degree. So that was how I convinced my parents to move here. But I had to make money. They were like, no, no, we're gonna support you in some ways, but like you gotta make some money first to be able to move here. And I was like, okay. So like I worked so much to make money. Just did a bunch of day jobs and like played gigs and stuff like that, and like really made a lot of money. So like I could move here. That's why I needed it for a year to really prepare to move here. But yeah, young and foolish. Like I admire myself moving to a different country. It's completely different culture. Don't know anyone literally. Just because I was like, oh, I fell in love with the music. Just that's that. I was like, dude, I'm so stupid. Like I don't know. I want to yell at my, old self, but also like I was like, good job. I'm so glad that you decided to do it. So
I
that's
mean,
interesting.
Miki,
It's interesting.
youth is not always wasted in the young. You took it by the horns, as it were, and and here you are, and here we are. I mean, you've made several very good decisions, and I'm glad, and thank you for sharing some time with us.
Yeah,
It's very,
sure.
very meaningful,
Happy to.
and doing Queen's College proud, by the way. But we'll talk about that later at the end of the last song. And again, just a reminder to all of our audience members to not be shy, to keep asking questions, keep sharing your comments and your thoughts. We really encourage you to participate in this conversation with Miki, which is starting super interesting, by the way. So while our audience prepares their courage and their questions we're playing and for Q&A at the end of the song, please tell us what we're going to hear next, and yeah, anything about that song that you want to share with us.
Okay, so this is the fourth piece of the night, and this is going to be a piano trio, classic format of a piano trio, piano, bass, and drums. And on the drums, my husband, Jimmy McBride, is joining. And yeah, we played what did I play? I'm just trying to remember. I think it's my song, right? It's my song, Preschool. I think so. See, another song related to school, but preschool is the little school. And I just wanted to write a song about people go like nuts and like they don't listen to each other. And so like it's kind of like music should be sometimes funny, Like I think the humor is sometimes missing from a music. I was like, people are too serious. I was like, oh, can I just have fun and like be random? I think beauty of jazz is like you can just make a decision about that. You can go serious or you can do funny. So this is my kind of funny side of songwriting, I guess. So please enjoy. This is Preschool, written by B. And yeah, comment.
Yeah, that was
Yay.
that was cool.
Thank
Very-
you.
yeah, there's definitely a lot going on. Sounds like a preschool
You know, you
playground. Yeah.
the playground, exactly. That's the vibe. You got it. Yes.
You totally got it. All right, so we heard a solo piano. We heard a duet with the bass. We had two trios, or we heard one with the trumpet, and we heard the classic jazz piano trio.
Yes.
I suppose it's time for the big finale.
Exactly. Yes. We're going to hear a quartet finally. And this piece that you're going to hear is very important for Queen's College because it's written by Jimmy Heath, who used to teach there as a professor and influenced a lot of people like Antonio Hart, who's there, Jeff Patton, who's there right now, are all influenced by Jimmy Heath. So it's really important for me to play this music, this song, and I've been playing it since I decided to do this song for this project, and it's been so fun. Jimmy Heath is awesome. So yeah, this last one, hope you enjoy. This is a sound for sore ears by Jimmy Heath, and hope you enjoy.
What a tribute! What a tribute to Jimmy Heath. Thank you so much. And the Queen's College, Mickey.
Yeah.
That was very thoughtful.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I care about the
So,
school, you know.
sorry, say that again.
I care about the school. I really appreciate the school. I wasn't a good student, but I really appreciate the school. So yeah.
Well, let's with that, come on, let's open up to our audience members to encourage them to ask you some questions. I see the user by the name Turtog is just waving and celebrating and saying hi. But
Hello.
if you have a question, oh, that's a cute picture.
Yes.
If you have a
What?
question, we'll welcome it. And also Pierre Duchesne, better late than ever. I joined. Welcome, Pierre. I hope you
Thank
can prepare for the
you.
quiz.
Yes, yes.
And then, okay, so I'm going to start us off with Donald, since Donald's being a real stand
Oh yeah,
this
man.
evening.
He's hanging out
That
with us the whole time.
that's pretty cool. So let's start us off with a question that Donald posed that is something I have been thinking about the pandemic as well, and art and music making throughout, right? So Donald asks, and I think it's an interesting question. Do you have a favorite among all the composers whose music you've played over the 63 weeks? I'm assuming of the pandemic. Who's counting, Donald? Right? Who's counting?
So this is the series that I've been doing since last February, last year of February. So like it's been 63 weeks. I've been presenting different composers. Yeah, so like 63 different composers. Well, one time we repeated because of the technical issues that people couldn't hear. So like I had to repeat. I had to do it again. But yes, I have no like particular favorite ones. Like it's just every week I get to learn new music. It's just such a joy for me. Just like whatever reasons, like you can, make like COVID stopped us, right? COVID stopped us to work as a musician, but I'm not gonna stop as a musician. Like I'm not gonna make money maybe, but I'm gonna keep creating, keep learning. So last 63 weeks, like Don or Steve, Pierre, like those guys like that said hello, have watched my shows throughout. So I really appreciate you all. But I don't have any particular favorite. I like Duke Pearson. I like Duke. I'm just a little biased, I like it. Like I'm obsessed with Duke Pearson. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, everything is great. Everything is
You're
awesome.
allowed. You're allowed, Mickey. Because I mean, so that's so interesting. I actually didn't know you had a weekly series of
Mhm.
performances and compositions. I mean, that is, I mean, congratulations. What an effort. Because this is something that I mean. So I prepared a couple of questions for you to sort of like get us started. Though we've already there,
Mhm.
but assuming you hadn't thought about playing one composer a week in public, right? Or maybe you have. But I wanted to ask you, how has the pandemic, if you could keep just walking us through your thought process, how did the pandemic influence your music making? Like,
Yes.
of course, you've shared some of it, but if you take us
Yeah.
through it, like that'll be really, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. If the pandemic didn't happen, I would be just doing the local gigs and like will be the same the whole time. But because of the pandemic happened, like I had to really be creative about what can I do to keep myself being like motivated and interested um, in music. Period. Like if you don't get to play for the audience, it's pretty sad. Like at least for a jazz musician, like we need audience. We do need audience. The audience's energy is much required to make our like music. So the pandemic really forced us to really face the fact that you can't have them when the pandemic happens, right? So I just wanted to be able to be connected to some other people that I don't get to really see in New York, like New York City local gigs, such as like the streaming, like I get to meet all those other people. So like I get to present music. So and then like I learned so many tunes. Um, yeah, so yeah, it's just it's really good that pandemic happened, honestly. I'm the probably only one who thanks.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, thank you.
I
I
mean,
mean, I should say it because a
artistically,
lot of people died and it's a really sad thing. But if this didn't happen, I wouldn't be doing what I've been doing. It's just like
mhm.
definitely didn't happen. So I'm in a weird way, I'm really thankful that it happened. And it really changed me whole a lot. Yes.
Yeah, that's so interesting because you're right. Like we cannot overstate how tragic it's been for everyone, right? And amongst all of that darkness, some little bits of light, some winning, as it were. I don't really
Yes,
like that word in this
exactly.
context, but like reimagining what music can be, how we can connect to people through, albeit not the same experience, but at the end of the day it is the connection that we got, right? So that's pretty awesome.
Yes. Right.
Pierre Duchesne, I'm sorry, Pierre, I'm not pronouncing your last name right, and I apologize, but he has an interesting question. Which leads me to my next question as well. So let's address Pierce's at the beginning, and then I'm just gonna ask you one that I prepared for you. But Pierre asks, right? Mickey, as a student, were you good? I imagine you more as a rebel student. So there is something that Pierre knows that we don't know. It's rebellious side. So want to elaborate a little bit on this?
Yes, I was a terrible student. I was a terrible student. Antonio Hart, the professor there, can attest that. He always loves to talk about it because I'm fortunate enough to work with him now
Mhm.
on and off whenever he gets time because he teaches so much that he doesn't have too much time to even perform nowadays. But when he gets to present his band and he hires me and then he always talks about Miki Yamanaka is like one of my, best students and the worst students. Like he likes to talk about that because I was just such a terrible student. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about music, but I loved the music. So I could play, but I don't know all those like knowledge parts, like theories and like words, like
Mhm.
terms. I don't
Mhm.
know anything. Don't show up on time. I was just terrible
I mean,
student.
clearly you stayed behind composing, right? Like.
No, I was just like chilling. I was just like hanging out in the city, just like, oh, I was out too late, so like I couldn't wake up early enough to make it to the 2 p.m. ensemble class. I was like, 2 p.m. is a little too early, professor.
Clearly.
Yes.
Um,
Totally from Mickey, yes.
so, this is a good segue, and maybe this might be our last question. We've been hanging out for an hour now, and I feel like it's hard for us to start thinking of wrapping it up. But before we do that, I mean, you clearly have a good relationship to Queen's College and to your time there. But I wanted to ask more specifically then, how has Queen's College influenced your professional life? How did that crazy decision that you took, before you came to the States, before you quit science, how did Queen's College help you get, you make that decision worth it?
Yeah, so when I was in Japan, like I was in this rural city, Okayama, that's where I went to school. And then I met David Berkman, who teaches there as well at Queen's College. And then when I came here, came to New York first, like I couldn't speak English. I didn't know. I didn't even think of going to any music school. But he always told me, if you really want to pursue music, just talk to me, because Queen's College is always looking for some students that's eager to learn, like love the music. So just talk to me. Like he was like willing to help me out basically, because I think a lot of conservatories require bachelor's degree in music to apply for a master's degree, in which I don't have. So like I was like in a kind of behind, and but David told me that like I could apply for Queen's College to get master's degree in music, even though I didn't have any background in music academically. Yeah, so first of all, that was like the reason why I picked Queen's College as well. And also like the weird location, it's like it's in like a little suburb, and I can kind of whenever I lived in Jackson Heights, so like I always go out to the West Village to hang out at night, and Jackson Heights is like a 35 minutes away. This from my house to Queens College is like 45 minutes away. So like I was like like really in between of those places that I needed to be. And then the Queens College was just the perfect place to be because I feel like I can kind of get rid of the city's like craziness and like be in a little like big space, and I can use the practice rooms, and like I got to meet a bunch of great people, including the professors, but also the my peers, like great pianists, Hila Kulik or like Carlos. What's his last name? He's a great pianist, and he was on like one of those movies, and it's like it's really awesome. Like people are working, like Jack, great drummer, um, in Marty on the trombone. Like we made a little recording in the end. Just like it's always night. The school. What's good about school is like the connections. Like you get to meet people that have like-minded people. So yeah, I really enjoyed being there, even though like I said I wasn't a good student, but it really shaped my career in the way that I got to meet those people, so therefore I get to learn from those people. So yes, that's the way it influenced me.
Yeah, that's amazing. It was very generous of you. I mean, and on behalf of Queens College, let me tell you, we're very happy. I'm very proud of all the work you've been doing, and how you've pushed yourself through this pandemic, and made us all sort of like smile and forget about it for a minute. So that's really great. Arlene Abdalian asks the perfect question to finish our our time today. So Arlene is asking, where do you perform next? Which is a great
Oh,
segue to ask you,
good. Yes.
Miki, how can we keep up with all of your performing and know about you? What are the best ways to get in touch with you and be aware of your performances?
Yeah, so like actually tonight I'm performing at Swing 46. It's a swing dance venue, but I've been working with Robert Edwards. He might actually have a couple students at Queens College.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's a great trombonist, and we've been playing there every Tuesday from 9 to 12. Or like you could find me, look, if it's like you're watching online, I do streaming series every Wednesday. So sometimes I do different dates, but you can follow me. You can subscribe my channel after you subscribe you know, the Queen's College channel first.
Go for Center.
After, yes,
And how about your
after.
social media?
And then, like social media wise, please find me on Instagram. I'm pretty up to date. I My website is, I'm sorry, it's not so up to date gig wise, but I do post every day, almost every day on Instagram where I'm playing, or like, all those like gig clips and stuff like that. So you can really, you can talk to me, you can comment and message me. Happy to know you and happy to meet you in any way. So just like, follow me, subscribe, whatever you can do. I have newsletter that I send out every week. Actually, those people that, Don or Steve maybe saw my newsletter today, so they knew about this event. So I keep in touch with people that, want to follow me. And like I always let you know that where I'm going to be playing, like crystal clear. You would know
That's
where I will
amazing.
be that week. So
So,
please.
so one last time for the people in the back. Let's go through your IG, your website, and your Facebook in that order. So, what is your IG? How can we
It's Miki
people?
Miki Yummy. So Miki Yummy. So it's pretty simple. That's my handle. Find me. And my website is Miki Yamanaka. I think it's mikiyamanaka.com actually. So it's pretty simple if you can spell my name right. And yeah, I think that's the best way. And for YouTube, it's Miki Yamanaka Music. So just find me. If you know, search Miki Yamanaka, it should pop up. And yeah, hope to, see some comments like on one of my streaming series. That will be so great. So yeah.
Thank you, Mickey. And if you are curious as to what the Corporate Center for the Arts at Queens College is offering for the next few months, especially we're gearing up for the summer, we're going to have a very exciting outdoor concert series coming up
Ooh.
with Life at the Gantries. Also, a wonderful festival, Queens Rising, in the month of June. So, if you want to find out about all of our programming, please go to www.cupferbercenter.org and subscribe to our social media channels to keep up to date. So with that said, Miki, any parting words?
Not so much. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Teresa, and like thank you, Andres. Like all this behind the scene people, like I appreciate all of your, effort to put it together, and like I appreciate all my musician friends that created this music today for this concert, and like people who watched either now or later, whatever. Just thank you all for tuning in, and hope to see you all either in on the internet or live setting. More
Thank you,
music to
Miki.
come. Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you,
Miki, and
Carlos.
thank you very much for all of you who stayed. And on behalf of Corporate Center, have a good night.